Welcome to another episode of the Monday Minute. Hi, this is Ken Freeman, and can you hear me? Is your message being heard? Are you talking to your actual audience? Think about this. You have a message. You have a message of hope for the hopeless, a plan for their future. You have options and resources that could help anyone in need. The problem is this. Often what we say is not heard by our client, our patient, our donor. Worse, what you say could actually turn them away from your nonprofit organization. Dan Merrigan of Merrigan Consulting wrote an article recently about getting your message heard. As the story goes, what you say may not be heard. He writes, I had an interesting experience the other day living in Southern California. My wife and I drove up to Pasadena the day after the Rose Parade for a walk among the floats. This event is attended by thousands and presents an opportunity for some to showcase their concern for their fellow human beings by holding signs shouting, Christ died for you. Now, I'm all for telling the truth, and in fact, I think the core of what we do as Christians is to help the world realize that they need saving. But I was struck by this experience, mostly because, in light of the event, they were completely irrelevant. Nobody was listening. And on that odd occasion that a passerby would take the flyer that was being offered, it went immediately into the next trash receptacle. They might as well have been holding blank signs and saying, have a nice day. Why? The sign holders seemed to care that lost sinners needed salvation, but it wasn't their message. They seemed to care that life without Christ offers no hope, but that wasn't their message either. The message was that Christ is the solution to a problem they didn't think they had. The truth is that unless you feel the need for salvation, you're not likely to reach for a Savior. To connect this to your nonprofit development communications, you need to think about how your audience perceives what you are saying. To understand whether you need to adjust your message, look at the last 7 or 8 pieces of email or newsletters that you have sent out. Now, assume that you had just landed from a distant planet and ask yourself, what are they trying to tell me about themselves? Do you look like a ministry that the God of the universe is involved in, or something else? Ask yourself whether your message is clear and concise. Do you clearly understand the impact this ministry is having, and on whom? The alternative is sometimes pretty ugly, isn't it? I look at communication pieces all the time that sound as though the world has turned their back on the organization a long time ago, and they simply are trying to convince people they aren't as bad as they sound. Is it any wonder why ministries lose large segments of the donor file each year and need to replace them with fresh donors? Now factor in all the other advertising noise your donors or your clients or your patients hear. The press is always ready with bad news. The latest scandal stays on page 1 long after its newsworthiness expires. And, oh, by the way, the ministry that you gave money to last year, what? It's in trouble again? When your message is perceived as irrelevant, people turn you off. So you have to remember whom you represent and to whom you are speaking. As an evangelical ministry, you represent God. He can do anything, including make people see Him at work through your ministry when you tell a transparent, clear story about the lives that are being transformed by Christ through you. As for your audience, remember they are not checkbooks. They are people just like you. They deserve the chance to evaluate what you're doing, wrinkles and spots and all, and decide whether you are actually having an impact or making a difference. When you are, they will get involved. When they can't hear it, they go away. So let's take a look at what we can do to connect with our client, our donor, or our patient. Use old-fashioned emotions. Emotions don't change with the seasons. Chances are that if an idea makes you laugh, it will make others laugh. If it makes me cry, it will make you cry too. You may think you are of a higher order, but here's the unvarnished truth. We all share 99.99% of the same genes. Package your message with emotion and passion. Focus your message on what it means to the recipient and put yourself in your recipient's place. I say think audience analysis. Remember that the members of the audience are supposed to be the beneficiaries of your communication. They're the ones who should benefit. Don't make too many assumptions about your audience, but you do have to make some. So go back to the basics. Who is your audience? Consider the demographics, their age, ethnicity, their gender mix. Look at their predispositions, hopes, fears, positives and negatives, level of interest, and look at their knowledge of or experience with the subject of who you are or what you offer. And in what kind of a setting are they going to receive this information? Will it be on the phone, in your office, in a small group, or one-to-one? And take into account the me, the here, and the now. Picture yourself as the audience and ask, how does this message affect me here now? Me here now translates into what you, the speaker, has to offer your client, patient, or donor. What they will be able to understand, accept, support, and consider important because it matters to them. Establish the cognitive and behavioral objectives for your audience. What do I want my client or donors to know? What do I want my client or donors to do? If you will do these simple things, go back to the basics of basic communications, you will get your message heard better. To get a transcript of today's program, just click this link. And then remember, listen next week when I will bring you another episode of the Monday Minute. Tell a friend, won't you, about the Monday Minute, and thank you for listening.